What does it take for a single moment of anger to unravel a life? In a bustling suburban diner on a crisp autumn morning, the air was thick with the aroma of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon. The clatter of plates and the hum of conversation filled the space, but for Karen Whitmore, the world was about to tilt. She sat at the counter, her manicured nails tapping impatiently, her eyes scanning the room for someone to blame for her mounting frustration. Karen, a 42-year-old real estate agent with a reputation for getting what she wanted, had always prided herself on control. Her life was a carefully curated display of perfection. Flawless outfits, a spotless SUV, and a social media feed filled with inspirational quotes. But beneath the surface, cracks had begun to form. Her husband, David, had grown distant. Her teenage daughter, Lily, barely spoke to her, and her career was teetering after a string of lost clients. Today, though, it wasn't her family or her job that pushed her to the edge. It was a cashier named Mia. Mia, a 19-year-old college student working her weekend shift at the diner, had a quiet demeanor and a knack for keeping her cool under pressure. She'd seen her share of demanding customers, but Karen was different. From the moment Karen stormed in, demanding a table away from the noise, Mia sensed trouble. Karen's order, a complicated mix of substitutions and special requests, came with a barrage of complaints about the menu, the lighting, even the music playing softly in the background. Mia handled it with a tight smile, but when she accidentally misheard Karen's request for no onions and delivered a salad sprinkled with them, the storm broke. "You call this service?" Karen's voice cut through the diner, sharp and accusing. Heads turned. Mia apologized, offering to replace the salad, but Karen wasn't having it. "I want to speak to your manager. Now." The manager, a tired-looking man named Greg, tried to de-escalate, but Karen's fury only grew. "This is unacceptable. Do you know who I am? I could have this place shut down." Mia, standing behind the counter, felt her cheeks burn. She wasn't just embarrassed, she was exhausted. Her shift had started at 6 a.m., and she was juggling school, rent, and a sick grandmother at home. But Karen didn't see a young woman stretched thin. She saw incompetence. And when Mia muttered, "Ma'am, I'm doing my best," under her breath, Karen snapped. "Your best? Your best is pathetic," Karen shouted, her voice trembling with indignation. She pulled out her phone, dialed 911, and held it to her ear like a weapon. "Yes, hello? I'm at Sunny's Diner, and I'm being disrespected by an employee. I demand someone come here immediately." The diner fell silent. Customers exchanged glances, some amused, others horrified. Greg, the manager, tried to intervene, but Karen waved him off. "No, I'm done with this place. I want justice." Mia stood frozen, her hands trembling as she processed what was happening. A 911 call? Over a salad? Enter Javier, a quiet regular who always sat in the corner booth with a newspaper and a black coffee. He was a retired firefighter, a man of few words but sharp instincts. Javier had been watching the scene unfold, his weathered face unreadable. He'd seen people like Karen before, entitled, quick to explode, but something about her intensity felt off. He leaned forward, listening as Karen's voice grew louder, her gestures wilder. The police arrived faster than anyone expected. 2 officers, a seasoned veteran named Officer Daniels and a rookie named Officer Patel, stepped into the diner, their radios crackling. Karen, now standing, launched into a tirade about disrespect and poor service, pointing at Mia like she was a criminal. Mia, barely holding back tears, tried to explain, but Karen's voice drowned her out. "Ma'am," Officer Daniels said, his tone calm but firm, "you called 911 over a salad? It's not just a salad." Karen snapped. "It's about respect. This girl needs to learn her place." The word place hung in the air, heavy with implication. Mia's jaw tightened, and Javier, still in his booth, clenched his coffee mug. The officers exchanged a glance, clearly unimpressed with Karen's theatrics. They asked her to step outside to discuss the situation, hoping to defuse the tension. But Karen wasn't done. As she gathered her purse, she grabbed her untouched salad and, in a fit of rage, hurled it across the counter. Lettuce, tomatoes, and vinaigrette splattered across Mia's apron and the floor. The diner erupted in gasps. Officer Patel moved quickly, grabbing Karen's arm as she tried to storm out. "Ma'am, that's assault," he said, his voice steady but stern. Karen's eyes widened, her face a mix of shock and defiance. "Assault? Are you serious?" "She provoked me." But the officers weren't buying it. They restrained Karen, her protests growing shrill as they cuffed her hands behind her back. The diners watched in stunned silence as she was led out to the patrol car, her designer heels clicking against the pavement. Mia, still behind the counter, wiped her face with a napkin, her hands shaking. Greg, the manager, put a hand on her shoulder, but she brushed it off, retreating to the back to compose herself. As the patrol car pulled away, Javier set down his coffee and approached Mia. "You okay, kid?" he asked, his voice low and kind. Mia nodded, but her eyes were glassy. I don't understand why she was so angry," she whispered. Javier sighed, his gaze distant. "Some people carry a lot more than they let on. Doesn't excuse it, though." What no one in the diner knew, not Mia, not the officers, not even Karen herself, was that Javier had seen something in Karen's purse when it spilled open during the scuffle. A small orange bottle of pills, half empty, with a label he recognized from his own past. A prescription for anti-anxiety medication. It wasn't the salad or Mia's service that had set Karen off. It was a deeper, unspoken unraveling. Javier had lost his wife to a similar spiral years ago, anger masking pain, pride hiding fragility. He didn't mention the pills to anyone, but they stayed with him, a quiet reminder that people's worst moments often have roots no one sees. Back at the police station, Karen sat in a holding cell, her mascara streaked, her confidence shattered. She'd expected to be vindicated, to walk out with an apology from the diner and a reprimand for Mia. Instead, she faced charges of assault and misuse of emergency services. The reality hit her like a freight train. Her outburst, captured on the diner's security cameras and the phones of half a dozen customers, was already spreading online. By evening, she'd be a viral meme. Karen throws salad, her carefully curated image reduced to a punchline. At home, David watched the video in silence, his face a mask of resignation. Lily, scrolling through her phone, muttered, "Mom's done it again," before retreating to her room. Karen's world, built on appearances, was crumbling, and she had no one to blame but herself. Days later, Mia returned to work, her head held high despite the whispers. Javier was there, as always, in his corner booth. He slipped her a small envelope with a $50 bill and a note. "Keep shining, kid. You're stronger than you know." Mia smiled for the first time in days, tucking the note into her pocket. Karen, meanwhile, faced a different reality. Released on bail, she returned to a house that felt emptier than ever. David had packed a bag and left a note saying he needed space. Lily refused to meet her eyes. The real estate agency quietly dropped her, citing reputational concerns. Alone in her kitchen, Karen stared at the bottle of pills on the counter, the same ones Javier had glimpsed. She reached for them, then stopped, her hand trembling. For the first time, she wondered if the problem wasn't the world, it was her. The diner moved on, its rhythm unbroken. Mia, bolstered by Javier's kindness and her own resilience, kept working, saving for her grandmother's medical bills. Javier kept coming in, his newspaper and coffee a constant, his quiet presence a reminder that compassion could exist even in chaos. And Karen? She faded from the diner's story, a cautionary tale of what happens when anger wins and humanity loses. ND.